books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He have this HR magic to find or hire five-star employees, no other than Miss Danielle Mulvey.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks for having me today.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Danielle, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. So, I have been an entrepreneur since the ripe old age of 25. Um, More than half my life, I've been an entrepreneur, and I started my business pretty young and didn't really know what I was doing when it came to hiring. And I remember waking up one morning on a Monday and not wanting to get out of bed and wanting to call in fake sick to my own company because I didn't want to face another week with Larry, the the graphic designer I personally hired. And of course, I didn't call in fake sick to my own company that day, but I did resolve myself to take 3 immediate actions. That day I decided Larry had to go. So I was moving him to alumni status, aka firing him that day. Um Number 2, I resolved myself to get serious about hiring since I was just kind of winging it when it came to hiring. And number 3, I decided that I was never going to settle for what now I call a 5-star fit for the role. So, uh, 25 years later, I have built multiple companies. My collective companies do over $50 million a year in annual revenue. I spend about 10 hours a week overseeing those companies because I have teams of 5-star employees that are doing the work better than I could do the work in each of those businesses and such. So um, I have the fortune to you know work with other business owners, other hiring managers, corporations on spending a few hours to go all in on their hiring instead of winging it.
Miss Danielle Mulvey, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And what fundamentally differentiates a five-star employee from a great employee, and why should companies prioritize attracting them?
Yeah, for sure. Well, number one, a 5-star employee takes the ball and they run with it. And it comes down to, if you've made a 5-star hire, they have passed your 5-star employee scorecard. So there are 5 criteria that you want to judge candidates on. And um and 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 if someone passes that and they pass your hiring gauntlet, then they're going to be a 5-star fit for the role. Hiring is a numbers game, and when you hire, you've got to cast a wide net. If you're only choosing between 3, 4, 5 applicants, that's not enough. That's kind of settling, because 1 out of 7 candidates is a potential 5-star fit for the role. So you need 21, 35. You need multiples of 7 to end up with the 4 or 5 really potential 5-star fits for the role. But that means that 6 out of 7 you're rejecting. And so it not everyone is a 5-star fit for the role. And most companies, most hiring managers settle for someone who's like, maybe they'll be okay for the role. And they give people 90 days to, like, let's give them 90 days, let's see how it works. And that means that you were just kind of guessing with your hiring process. When you have a true system that helps you objectively evaluate candidates, and you set a bar and you don't settle for someone who falls below that bar, that's when you end up making a 5-star hire. And when you make a 5-star hire, that person comes in with the abilities, the potential, the motivation, the personality, the work fit, and the job and the team fit to actually do the job and hit the success metrics that you need them to hit. And it doesn't take them long to ramp up. You should be able to make a 5-star hire. they should be at 50 miles an hour after week 1. They should be at 100 miles an hour, right where you need them to be by week 4, 5, 6, depending upon your company. And so, you again, you don't have to give someone 90 days to figure it out. That just meant that you you were kind of lazy with your hiring, in my opinion, in my experience.
Miss Danielle, beyond the talent shortage, what's the biggest blind spot most companies have their current hiring approach?
Yeah. So I think that they're not casting a wide enough net. They are relying on Indeed, the other typical job boards and such. And your most ideal candidate probably is currently employed and not looking for a job. But you are, if you want to attract 5-star employees, you're probably a 5-star company. And so you have to make a little bit more effort to find the right fit and to get as many applicants as you can. So it's important to be creative and about where you're seeking employees and getting the word out and finding other ways besides the job boards to do that. And then the other thing is that your job post has to stop the scroll. So yes, you're going to post on Indeed and you're going to post other places, but you can't just be putting out there gobbledygook, random vanilla sounding job posts. You have to be very, very explicit about what you're looking for, and you want to stand out from the crowd to attract the high achievers and repel the mediocre candidates. So, what does that mean? What are some ways that you can have a great job post? Number one, I wouldn't focus on the title in your job post title, literally the headline of your job post. I would put the qualities and the abilities or the skills that you're looking for in the candidate. Because some people, so for example, one of my businesses, we process long-term care claims, and the role is called a claims examiner. Well, my ideal candidate doesn't have claims examiner experience. My ideal candidate has never heard of the role claims examiner. My ideal candidate is this is an entry level position. So how would they have heard of it before? My ideal candidate is a recent college math graduate. And so my job post title is um, the business side of healthcare, ideal for a recent college grad with a math degree. I didn't say claims examiner because that wouldn't attract what I'm looking for. Does that make sense? So
Makes sense.
so use job post titles that speak to exactly what you're looking for, because we're in a social media age and everyone is about scrolling. So what how can you say it differently that would stop the scroll? My ideal candidate would never stop at a job post that says claims examiner because they don't know what it is. It doesn't speak to them. But my job post title speaks to them. And then the other thing that you want to do in your job post is you want to have the 3 to 5 key responsibilities for the role. And these 3 to 5 key responsibilities are what the person is spending 70-80% of their week doing. And then with each key responsibility, you want to quantify what the success metric is for each responsibility. And so for our claims examiners, for example, you're adjudicating facility based and home health claims. And the metric of success is you're processing an average of 42 claims per day, and you're hitting 98% procedural accuracy and 98% financial accuracy. You need to quantify that success metric with a dollar value, a number, a percentage, a time frame, etc. And that is going to make it really clear to the person, like, okay, I can do this. I'm confident that based off of what is said here, and I'm a high achiever, so if someone gives me a goal, I can do it. And so that is going to attract the person who is your ideal candidate because it's very clear to them. And again, high achievers are like, set the bar, tell me what I need to do. The other thing that you need to do in your job post is you need to share the core values of your organization, your 100% true core values. Most businesses have core values that are groupthink, and are more aspirational than what is actually true. When you attract employees who are aligned with your 100% true all the time core values, that's almost like cloning yourself, because your core values that are true 100% of the time dictate how you make decisions, how you think and how you act. And if you want employees who are going to think and act like you, then let them know what your core values are. And don't just say, our core value is ownership. Like, explain with a clarifying statement what you mean about your core values. And again, that's going to attract people. And so when you make things crystal clear like this, even the person that's not on the job board, that you're trying to, like, get their attention, that there might be something better out them for them, they will have to look at your job post at some point in their application process. And when they see a job post from a company that is very clear, very specific, and it's speaking to them, now it's going to make them say, you know what? Yeah, this job's been okay, but it I'm working with a bunch of slackers. I'm working with a bunch of mediocre people. And, high achievers don't like to work with mediocre people, and mediocre people don't like to work with high achievers. So when you can demonstrate that your company has set a bar and that it is focused on high achieving, that attracts the high achievers and makes it more appealing to them to, ditch the place where they're working circles around some of their colleagues, or having to take on the extra work for the mediocre colleagues that they have at their current job that are just collecting a paycheck because they can, right?
Right, and very well said, Miss Danielle. Beautifully, beautifully articulated. What's the biggest roadblock leaders face when implementing these strategies like budget, mindset, or HR tech, and how do you overcome it?
So I think the biggest obstacle is uh being being ready to actually make the offer and onboard the employee. So I actually think that if you're going to make a hire, you need to start with the outlining your onboarding and your training process, so that when you're ready to make that hire, you're ready to bring that person on, and that person can come on at 50 miles an hour in week 1, and then get 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour by week 4, 5, 6, or 7. And then that's going to give you the confidence that you know exactly what you're looking for, and when you find that person, you'll be able to plug them in. Now, when you're bringing people through what I like to call a hiring gauntlet, um, the 5-star fit method is what it's officially called. But when you bring people through a hiring gauntlet, you should be bringing them through within that process within 5 to 9 business days. You want to work fast with candidates, and when you have a process and a system, it's just you're following the steps. And when you follow the steps, it just makes it really easy. You don't have to think about things. So when you invest a few hours to to dial in a process and a system for your recruitment, your hiring, your onboarding, it makes things so easy because you don't have to think hard about things. And I think most people, they just are like, I just don't have the time for this. So they sort of wing it when it comes to hiring. They settle for someone, they get in a warm body who says they can start on Tuesday, who says they can do this stuff, and then they give them 90 days. They give them a probationary period of 90 days. And in the United States, you don't have to give someone 90 days unless you're in Montana. All 49 of the other states don't require a 90-day probationary period. You should be hiring someone and taking them through your 5-star fit method that you have 100% confidence that they have the ability, the motivation, the personality, the work fit, and the team fit to do the job in your company.
Interesting info, Miss Danielle. And as our HR magic and hiring 5-star employees, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
So my personal goals or goals for clients, or I'm sorry.
For both.
Okay. So, well, you're hearing it here, and your audience is hearing it. But my goal is ultimately to change the way that companies find employees and employees find jobs. I think the days of resumes are over. I think the days of job boards are over. And we have an assessment, the all in assessment, that actually assesses a candidate's abilities, motivations, personality, team fit, and work fit. And so what we do in our hiring process and with our 5-star fit method is when someone applies to a job, they take the assessment. And after they take the assessment, they do a screening interview. After they do a screening interview, they do a skills test. After they do a skills test, they do a deep dive interview. And after the deep dive interview, they do a test drive day. But the secret is in that assessment, because that assessment automatically and objectively and scientifically narrows down your ideal fit for the role to the top 15 to 20% automatically. So this assessment is so good because you're able to kind of create your own benchmark for what you need in the role. And if a candidate takes it and they score 70% or higher, that's a potential 5-star fit. So, what I am seeing in the future and where I want to take this in my terms of my long term goal is that we'll have a platform. Indeed might not exist anymore, but we'll have a platform where employers can set their benchmark for the roles that they're looking for, because every role is going to be different at every company. And then candidates can come take one assessment, and then based off of their assessment, and we can match them to jobs where they could be a potential 5-star fit for. So the days of jumping through everyone's hoops and just applying, I think is over. It's we don't need to do that anymore. That's how people have been doing it since the 1950s and before that. And you guys, it's 2025. So I think it's flipping the switch and starting with the assessment, and people just having to take one assessment that then can match them against the ideal jobs, because everyone is a 5-star fit for something, and everyone deserves to have a job where they're a 5-star fit.
Definitely. And Ms. Danielle, looking forward for more success for hiring and good luck to your goals. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
Yeah, it's the secret is to never settle. If you're interviewing a candidate and there's a red flag or there's something in your gut saying, this doesn't sound right, then you don't move that candidate forward in your process, because let's be honest, you've made mishires in the past. I made mishires, Larry, and I've made other mishires tragically since Larry, but I've learned from it. And what I have learned is that when I see a red flag in a candidate, or if I something in my gut is saying this isn't adding up, this isn't right, then that candidate doesn't move forward in your process, because that means that you're settling. And there is someone out there. There is a 5-star fit for the role. Don't try to put a square peg into your round hole position. It's not going to work. And you know it because you've tried it before. So there, I don't believe that there is a talent shortage. It's just casting a wider net, getting in front of more eyes, and not just relying on the job boards is the secret.
Definitely. And thank you for your advice, Miss Danielle. And can you please recommend a book that influenced you, Johnny?
Oh my gosh. So I have to recommend All In, a bit of a bit of a shameless plug, because uh when Mike McAllowitz, who is a dear friend of mine, and now a business partner, was writing this book, he asked me to collaborate with him on it. And because he had experienced, and seen kind of my teams in action and such. And so it has brought me to this opportunity to share my experiences and our systems with other people. And I wasn't intending to do this. Like, I have other businesses. I was plenty busy enough, and this, that, the other. So working on All In with him, and talking about, how to build an unstoppable team, and help business managers and business owners and corporations build unstoppable teams, has been just a great adventure for me, and brought me to this point. And I think that, you know we're going to change the way people find jobs and get hired, with the all in assessment. So that's what I recommend.
Thank you for your recommendation, Miss Danielle. And what's the most counter initiative piece of advice in your system that surprises people?
um I think the thing that is most surprising is that you can um you can automate a lot of the heavy lifting. You're no longer reviewing resumes. You're no longer being subjective about things. It Hiring should be fun. And when you have a system in place, and you can flip a switch, and the system is working, and the assessment is scoring candidates against your benchmark, and you're eliminating the people that score less than 70%. Like, it makes hiring fun to find that person who has not had a great employer, or hasn't had a great job, and hasn't had something where they're really doing what they're great at. And so when you can find that person and give them a job that just meets everything about their abilities, motivation, personality, work fit, and team fit, like, that's awesome. Because again, we all have to work, and we all need to be doing jobs that we love. And when you're a five-star fit for the job, you love it. So that's my advice, is get excited about it.
Excited for sure. And Miss Danelle, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please to listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Danielle, what's your number one warning to companies that ignore the need for strategic talent attraction overhaul?
Yeah, so my number one advice is, again, just don't ignore the red flags. If someone asks you, "Oh, how did that interview go?" or "What do you think about the candidate?" and your response is, "Well," that's a red flag right there. You should have absolute confidence. If you don't have absolute confidence, then you're settling. So move on from that candidate, because there are plenty of fish in the sea. And there's plenty of 5-star potential candidates. Just don't settle for a 1, 2, 3, or well, they might be okay.
Miss Danielle Mulvey, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, and hoping for more and more empowering coaching or whatever projects that you are doing right now. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Daniel. Yes, of course. So, as part of the 5-star fit method, you're wanting to evaluate people on the 11 universal qualities of a 5-star employee. And so we've got that litmus test that you can use by texting team to 55444. So text team, TEAM, to 55444, or visit us at 5staremployeehiringsystem.com, the number 5staremployeehiringsystem.com.
Yes. People love support Miss Danielle Mulvey because if you support her, for sure you will have a 5-star employee. So, Miss Danielle, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.